I found these ColorSparx watercolor powders at a garage sale, still in the package, brand new, and I thought they would be fun to try. I'm going to be using them with a set of stencils that I bought off Amazon a while ago. I'll have the links to everything I'm using in the description below. This pack of stencils has a lot of really great options, but I think I'm going to begin with the stars. And I also have my misting bottle handy for when I want to activate the pigments. So this 3-pack contains crimson, sepia, and orange. So first, let's go ahead and see what the crimson looks like. And I think I'd better tape a couple of my sides down just to keep everything in place. I don't want to bump the stencil and mess it all up. All right, hopefully that will do it. So what I'm going to be doing is just lightly tapping the bottom of the bottle. And I looked this product up on Amazon, and the reviews said not to squeeze because you'll actually wind up with just way too much and it'll come out in really big clumps. So I'm doing my best to cover the entire area, tapping as I go. I'm not really sure how much I'm going to need, but hopefully this will be enough. Just a light layer over everything. I'm always surprised to see how many art supplies I find at garage sales and even sometimes on OfferUp that have not even been used, not a single time. Now for a few sprays with the mister. Okay, wow, that really came to life, didn't it? That was surprisingly dark. I know I could wait for this to dry, but I'm just not that patient. So I'll carefully peel away and see how this looks. Well, there are definitely a few spots that bled beyond the outline of the stencil, but honestly, it's not that bad. I'm just going to put this one aside to dry, and we'll move on to the next one. I'm going to be using this animal print stencil, and I think orange will be the best choice for this. Once I've tried out all 3 colors, I'll likely use these pieces as backgrounds for some journal pages. And at the end of this video, I'll show you how they turn out. So I think I'll tape all 4 sides this time, so maybe we won't have as much of that bleeding beyond the outlines. And I'm also making sure my surface is level so I don't have to contend with gravity. I can imagine that applying some kind of temporary adhesive to the entire stencil would work even better, but I think the tape will be just fine for this project. This is just for the background after all, and it's not really going to be the main focal point. All right, here we go. Tap, 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 tapping. This bottle is being a little bit stubborn. It's not really coming out as easily as the first one. Well, it doesn't really look like I have much on here. So I'm hoping I'm getting enough on my paper. All right, well, I don't want to spend all day sitting here tapping, so I think we're going to wrap it up right about here. All right, a little bit of mist. Okay, I stand corrected. I must have had more pigment on the paper than I thought. Well, that's cool. It's a nice mix of yellow and orange. And now I'm just using a damp brush to fill in a few little areas around the edges where I didn't cover the surface quite enough. I'm not adding any additional paint, simply moving around what I already have there. And carefully pulling away the tape. Oop. Trying not to make a mess here. All right, I actually really like that. I only see one area where it bled too much, not a big deal. I can already tell this is going to be a really fun background to work with. Does anyone else play the game Art or Blood? I'm always covered in something. Luckily, it's paint or markers more often than blood. All right, moving on to the final test. This stencil isn't a repeating pattern like the others, but I think I can still make it work for a junk journal page. I know I should have used a slightly larger piece of paper, but that's what happens when you grab from the scrap pile. I hate to waste this nice 140-pound watercolor paper, so I keep all my excess cuttings for experimenting. The final color we're testing here is sepia, and I'm really hoping for some muted reds and browns, maybe not as vibrant as the previous ones. I'm thinking sepia would be wonderful for landscapes. I'd like to sprinkle the pigments once my paintings are almost finished but still damp, just to add like a little touch of texture to the land and the earth. Maybe a small sprinkle over a sandy beach or a desert scene. Doesn't that sound like fun? I am not really sure what I'm seeing here. The bottle definitely says sepia, but it looks like primary colors to me. Let's go ahead and activate these colors and see what happens. Okay. Am I mistaken, or is this the opposite of sepia? This looks more like a unicorn threw up on my workspace. I'm a little worried about this reveal. These are not the soft, undersaturated colors I picture when I think of sepia. Well, here it goes. The last piece. Well, I will say this is my least favorite of the bunch, but I will try to salvage it. All right, well, I had another scrap nearby, so I'm gonna flip the stencil over and see if I can get these trees to transfer to my paper. I'm just lightly pressing up and down the stencil. All right, that's interesting. This I think I can work with. Let's throw in some more green to bring out the leaves of the trees. By adding this extra green, I think maybe it's a little bit easier to tell what it's supposed to be. And I'm also going to throw in some grass. I know these tree trunks are basically every color of the rainbow, but I'm surprised how much I actually like them. Kind of like the light speckled look is really cool. Yep, I'm actually happy with that. Not bad at all. All right, before I take these away and make them into junk journal pages, let's just take a quick little look. So we have the orange on the left here, and then we have the crimson for the stars, and the sepia for the trees. Let's see what I can do with this. Okay, for the crimson stars, I added the word shine, and I used my largest, boldest letter stamps. I would have preferred it if the stars were a little lighter so they weren't competing with the rest of the design, but that's okay. And now for the animal print, I think this one turned out much better. The colors were still bold, but I kept the rest of the design quite simple, and I'm really happy with the results. Much to my surprise, the sepia transfer of the trees turned out to be my favorite. Do what you love. Well, I love to play around with art supplies and make a mess, so mission accomplished. I absolutely love the tree bark. Clearly, I won't be using sepia pigment powders as an organic looking texture on landscapes, but I will use them in other ways. And I tried to save the forest of unicorn vomit, but it's pretty much a disaster. I reinforced the trees and tried to break up some of the color explosion with this crinkle paper, but it's definitely my least favorite of the bunch. If any of you plan to try watercolor pigment powders, I hope this video helps give you some ideas to get you started. I really did enjoy using them, even if they weren't exactly what I'd been expecting. Thank you so much for watching.